I will probably melt filming this, but yeah, it will be worth it. Hi book Hi book lovers, my name is Christina and welcome back to Cozy Novel Niche. I'm here with the first part of my book haul. It's a very special one because it's my birthday book haul. So on the 29th of July, it was my birthday and I went kind of overboard buying books, so let's get into them. The first thing that you need to know is that all of the books that are here are books that I bought for myself, because since I'm an avid reader, people tend not to buy me books. I don't know if it's a common problem. If you share it with me, let me know down below. It's a bummer on the side and it's a great thing on the other, because I understand people don't want to buy me books since they don't know what I already have or what I've read or borrowed or listened to. And so it's easier for me to buy them for myself, because I know my TBR and I know what I want more or what I want less, or what is there like for the long run. So here are the books that I bought for myself for this 31st, at this point, birthday. Let's start with a couple of mangas that I got for myself. The first one is I got something like probably 12 issues of Yona of the Dawn, or Yona la Principessa Scarlatta, or in Japanese it was Akatsuki no Yona. This is an ongoing fantasy shoujo, I believe. I'm not sure if it's a shoujo. Yeah, probably it's a shoujo because there is romance, but also it's a fantasy adventure story about Yona, our main protagonist, who is the princess of a country, and one day everything goes completely wrong and she is forced to escape, and she escapes with a childhood friend of hers, and they start an adventure. And there is a bit of fantasy, more than a little bit of fantasy actually. There is romance, there is adventure, and it's a long-running actually series because it has 35 volumes out already, and I believe that it will be like around 38 or 40 volumes total. So I'm definitely going and reading it and making my way through it, and I'm loving it so far. It's very entertaining and lovely. It makes me laugh. It doesn't make me cry, but it makes me emotional here and there, and I'm definitely rooting for the main character, who is growing and she's becoming a badass, and I'm loving it. The next manga that I got is completely opposite. This one is, I'm definitely sure, a shoujo manga. It's one of the very classic ones, and it's Caro Fratello in Italiano, or Onisama e in Japanese, and this one is by Ryoko Ikeda. Ryoko Ikeda is the writer or the mangaka behind Lady Oscar, or Versailles Nobara, or The Rose of Versailles. That's the translation of the title. And if you've never watched that anime, go and watch it because it's amazing. I absolutely adore it, and I read the manga, and I really wanted to read this one too because there is an anime for this story too. I remember watching it some years ago as a young adult, and I really wanted to read the manga and see if I will love it. This one is an omnibus with the full story plus a couple of extra stories, and this is about a girl who goes to this high school where there is a sorority and it's very exclusive, and people have many issues in this story, like every kind of possible issues. And so yeah, this is something that you may maybe enjoy. I've already read it, so I'm kind of on the fence. I will for sure keep it because the art style of this author, I think that it's absolutely pretty and amazing. I'm searching for like a good representation. Like, this is the art style. This is simply beautiful. And the thing that I'm on the fence about is the fact that the main character is such a crybaby. She just cries every 7 pages probably. So everything she cries. Someone says something to her and she cries. Someone doesn't talk to her and she cries. Nothing happens and she cries. So yeah, wasn't a big fan. There are also some very problematic things happening, like sibling relations and other stuff, but I'm kind of used to it. I've read Japanese manga since I was a child, so I'm kind of used to it. So if you're sensitive to these kind of topics and they bother you, maybe don't go down that road. But the art style is definitely pretty, even if it's very similar to Versailles, and some characters are kind of like the spit image, so it's strange, but whatever. Next one is a graphic novel, I guess, because it's not exactly a manga, but I don't know how to classify it. A comics, I guess. And it's the second and the third volume in the collection of Witch. Witch is a series that I used to love and adore as a child. I read it when all the issues were coming out. It's a story that was actually created here in Italy by some Italian authors. Then later it was translated in a lot of languages. There was a cartoon and it was quite popular back in the days. But I'm collecting these collections of all of the issues. They are just beautiful. I love it. It really brings my childhood back. And this is the story of 5 normal girls who suddenly discover that they have superpowers, kinda. The 5 girls, 5 friends, are each of them represents an element. So we have the power of earth, of air, of fire, of water, and then there is the 5th girl who has the power of energy. So we are following them as they transform and their power is growing and their enemies are getting stronger, and it's just an adventure. And I can't wait for the other volumes to come out, because I hope that I will have the complete collection of all of them and that I will pass it on for the future generations, because it's worth it. It's such a lovely story and it's just a part of my childhood, so I have very fond memories reading this story. And if you've ever read it, please let me know down below, because I want to gush about them with someone. Next book that I have here is one that you've already seen on my channel, and it's Il rosmarino non capisce l'inverno. I will not spend too many words about this. I have a full review in Italian with English subtitles, so if you're curious, I will leave the link down below. And this is a story written by an Italian author that I really love reading. And it's the story of a lot of women and how their lives kind of interconnect, and it's just slice of life kinda, but very thoughtful and very even kind of soothing in a way, even if it's not sweet in any way. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a book that I really loved. I've already read it, so that says something about it. Next is a book that I bought because I judge a book by the cover sometimes. Yes, I'm admitting it. And it's this lovely penguin edition, I believe, of The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And I mean, look at it. It's so pretty. Like, all of it is so pretty. It even has like this bookmark included. And I don't own an edition of The Secret Garden. I remember reading it as a child, but I don't remember pretty much anything about it, except that the part was scary for me for whatever reason as a child. So I really wanted this pretty edition and to reread it sooner or later. It's a classic, so it's something that I would have got sooner or later, and apparently it's sooner, because I met it like it was looking at me at the bookshop and it was screaming my name. So who am I not to bring this baby home? Next is a fantasy collection. Yes, I went for the full box. I bought all the 3 books, but for a really good reason, because I trust this author, and it's Laini Taylor. This is the complete trilogy of Daughter of Smoke and Bone in this edition. I know that there are a lot of different editions now. This is not the latest one, but it was the cheaper one, so why not? And I decided to go for the full box just because I've already read her second series duology, the one about the Muse of Nightmares and Strange the Dreamer, and I absolutely love the way of writing of this author, so I really wanted to read something else by her. And I know that this is a previous, like the first probably series that she wrote. I'm not sure about it, don't quote me on it, but probably. And so maybe it will be a bit different, but the writing style, if it's anything like that, I really loved it. It was like flourishy and a bit extra, but I really loved it, so I hope that I will enjoy this one too. I don't even remember at this point what's this book about. I mean, I know that it's a fantasy and there is a chimera probably, and it's set in Prague probably. Again, don't quote me on any of this, I'm not sure. I will read it, I will let you know, but this is something that I've wanted for a long time, and so I decided to treat myself. Now let's spice things up with the only non-fiction book on the list here for now, and it's 4,000 Weeks, The Time Management for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman. I heard about this book here on BookTube. I don't remember from what booktuber actually, unfortunately, but when I heard about it, I decided to immediately buy it. This is apparently about time management, but it's not like the other books. It's not about how to like be hyper productive in our society or stuff like that, because the very beginning, the introduction of the book, and here I quote, says, "The average human lifespan is absurdly, terrifyingly, insultingly short. Assuming you live by 80, you'll have had about 4,000 weeks." So yeah, I wanted to read about this and just see the author's perspective. Like, there are chapters that are named things like becoming a better procrastinator, so why not? I think that it will maybe be a little bit funny, like with a bit of black humor, not sure about it, but that's something that I thought could be a great read, maybe even for vacation. Like, I can definitely see myself reading it this summer, maybe in August, this month, when I will be on vacation, so that's a candidate for coming with me to a trip. Next is a piece of literary fiction that I am quite excited about. I was eyeing it for a very long time, and it's Longbourn House by Joe Baker. And this book has a very interesting premise. This is actually the story of the people that were serving the Bennet family. So if you're familiar with Jane Austen and Pride and Prejudice, I know that you're familiar with the Bennet family. It's like the protagonist, the main protagonist of the story is not like Elizabeth Bennet, it's the whole family. So we're following what's happening in the Bennet house, but seeing it from the perspective of the people who were serving them. So the butlers, the maids, the cooks, all the people that used to live on a completely different level, like even the different level of the house back at the days. And I think that it will be very fascinating, and it's an interesting take on the story. I guess that it will just have some glimpses of the main characters that we are used to know from Jane Austen, and we will focus more on the stories of the people living below or above, because sometimes the serving people, they were like they used to live on the highest level of the house, like the rooftop, or the lowest one. So I'm very curious to see how the author kind of took a spin to this, and what I will get out of this story. But the premise is definitely interesting, so I really wanted to take it with me. Next is a book that I was eyeing for so long again, and I'm not happy about this edition, but that's like the only one that I was able to get to, and it's The Diviners by Liba Bray. This is the first one in a quartet of books, and this is a kind of fantasy one in which we're following our young protagonist who moves to New York. It's set in New York in the 20s, so an amazing setting. And this girl apparently has superpowers, and her uncle is obsessed with the occult, and a murder happens and her uncle is called to the place, and she kind of maybe may help getting to the murderer, I'm not sure. But this is a book that I wanted for so long. The reason why I'm not in love with this edition, but I went with it, is that this book has some different editions. My favorite one was the one with the kind of the keyhole, I believe, on it, the purplish one, but it's so hard to get it, and the editions then changed. So these books are all mismatched for whatever reason. I don't know what happened with these editions, so I will keep this one and I will see if I will enjoy it. I will buy the next ones. They will probably be mismatched, but what I can say, sometimes we have to do what we have to do. Next book has an amazingly beautiful cover in my opinion, and it's Small Favors by Erin Craig. In this book we're following Ellery. Ellery tends to the beehives of her family. She lives in this small town, I believe, Amity Falls, and legend says that her ancestors fought some evil that lurked in the forest around the city, and that's the reason why people don't really venture outside of the city that much, of the town that much. But then something strange starts happening, and she kind of ends up being in charge of saving the city, her family, and the boy she loves. And this book, I don't know, it gives me a bit of creepy but cozy vibes for whatever reason, maybe for the mix of the cover and what it says behind, I'm not sure. Plus it has this very pleasant feeling to the cover, I don't know how to describe it, but I don't really know much about this book except that I've seen it around quite a bit, not too much, so it's not very overhyped, and I was curious to see what I will think about it. It sounds like a good read for both summer and autumn, so I don't know if I will get to it very soon, but it can end up on one of my seasonal TBRs, like if not this year, maybe the next one. Next book is something that I bought completely on a whim when I went to a bookstore and I saw it and I was like, okay, I cannot leave you there. It wasn't planned. It's a book about which I've heard nothing about, absolutely. It's by an Italian author, Daniele Colucci, and it's called Io sono Persephone, or I am Persephone. The reason why I decided to buy this book immediately is that it has this gorgeous cover with the illustration of an illustrator that I'm following, so I know this illustration, and when I saw it used for Persephone, I actually was like so happy. And this is a retelling of Persephone's story, like Persephone and Hades from Greek mythology, and I think that everyone is familiar with that story at this point. If you're not, read the myth and then go do yourself a favor, download Webtoon and read Lore Olympus, because Lore Olympus is such an amazing piece of art. It has beautiful illustrations, it has an amazing story, it's an ongoing series, it has even physical editions of the story right now, and I'm loving it. This is something completely different. This is a book, of course, and I don't know if I will enjoy it, but probably it's something that I can read this autumn, since one of Persephone's big moments is around the end of September. There are some festivities going on, and that's the moment for Cory and Persephone. So I will probably read the book at the end of September, and I will let you know what I think about it. I don't think that it has been translated yet in any language, since it's quite new here in Italy, but maybe, who knows. So that's my almost last book, because the very last book that I have here for today, for this very long haul, I'm so sorry, is A Magic Steeped in Poison. And just look at this beauty. I wasn't able to resist, like this cover was screaming my name, so I wanted to get the hardcover edition actually of the book. This is the first one in a series, and it has tea in it. I mean, that's the only thing that a book needs to get my attention. And in this fantasy story, we're following our main protagonist, who wants to become like the magical tea brewer for the emperor or the king, something like that. But unfortunately her mother ends up dying because of her mistake and because of something poisonous that she creates by mistake, and now her sister's life is in peril too. So if she actually manages to win the competition at the palace, she can get a wish, like she can get a wish granted by the princess of this kingdom, and apparently that way she will be able to save the life of her sister. I don't know much more about this book except that I love the cover and I love the idea that we have a tea brewer as a main protagonist, and tea plus magic plus fantasy, that's all that I need, and it's just perfect. Like, it was the perfect birthday gift from me to me. And this is the last book that I wanted to share with you for today. I have like a ton more books that I bought. I know I went overboard, but I'm coming out of a huge buying ban, book buying ban specifically. So yeah, I kinda went overboard. So the next video will probably be the second part of the books that I bought. They are all secondhand, plus some others that I'm still waiting to receive that were kind of new books. So yeah, this is it for this huge haul. Please let me know down below if you've read any of these books, or if you're interested in any of them, or if you would love to see the review for any of them. And I will see you very, very soon in my next video. Bye! Ciao!